move on to talk about one of your close friends and allies in Michael Matheson. Not to go over the details too much, but £11,000 roaming charge bill. He misled Holyrood chiefs, which we know. He misled yourself as in your role as First Minister. He lied to the press. He lied to the public. As good as a minister and as close a friend and ally he was to yourself, you should have sacked him in November.
I always believe in due process. I said that. And Michael is a decent man who made a mistake. He's served this Parliament, this country well over the years, and he did make a mistake. There's no.
It sounds like he made several.
Well, he made a mistake fundamentally when he found out about his boys using the iPad. He immediately, first of all, paid back the money, but he should have at that point, of course, been upfront with everyone, myself included, about what had happened. And that's a mistake he's made. SPCB have obviously published their the final recommendations of their report. They've obviously not published the full report yet. It's right that the Standards Committee now investigates the matter. And Michael has paid a price, not just, of course, rightly paying back the £11,000. That's the correct thing to have done. I agreed, of course, that he should step back from his government role and step down from his government role. And I think he's learned, I would hope he's learned his lesson in terms of the importance of being upfront about these matters.
Were you advised back in November by your special advisors, your political advisors, to sack him or to get him to resign then?
Look, I'm not going to talk about conversations I have with my political advisors. That's
yes or no. Were you advised to sack him? Did you decide to do something that your advisors didn't?
I make the judgment about who's in my government and who's not. Not any of my special advisors. My special advisors.
What was their advice?
But I'm not going to tell you the advice I get of my special advisors. That's between me and my special advisors. But no, there was no. Everybody that I spoke to understood exactly what I was saying, which is that what I said publicly at the time, that Michael Matheson should be subject to due process, and it was very, very clear come the turn of the year that due process was going to consume his time, and therefore it was the right thing for Michael to do, to step down from government.
The special advisor question is important because there are rumours that you don't listen to them, that your closest advisors provide you with advice, and instead you tend to follow the advice of your wife. To borrow Dominic Cummings' phrase, which he used to describe Boris Johnson, sounds like you could be a bit of a Scottish trolley.
So what's the evidence basis that I listen to my wife?
It's discussions, rumours in Holyrood.
But what's the issue? Can you give me an example of an issue that you think I would have listened to my wife on, that I wouldn't have made my own judgment or would have gone against my special advisors?
I think it might just be the person you take advice from most often.
No, well, look, so you're not able to provide evidence of that. So look, I try to keep my family very much out of my politics. Where I can. My special advisors are fantastic. I've chosen, they serve because I've appointed them, and they give excellent advice. And, I would say ultimately people expect their First Minister to lead. So I'll get advice from not just my special advisors. I said to you a moment ago that I take advice from my colleagues, whether it's in the Scottish Parliament, whether it's in local government, whether it's in Westminster. But ultimately I've got to make the judgment on various different issues. And that's true of Michael Matheson, that's true of people that serve in my cabinet. That's ultimately a decision that I make, who serves in my cabinet and who serves in my government. Look, I ultimately make the judgment, but I listen to a whole range of, not just advisors, but a whole range of colleagues. That's been part of my approach from the beginning, is to try to have as a big a tent as possible, to try to listen to as many of my colleagues as possible.
Do you think Michael Matheson should have taken I think it's 12 and a half, give or take, tax-free ministerial golden goodbye? It effectively means he hasn't paid a penny.
Look, again, that's a matter between Michael and the Parliament.
But on a principle basis.
To make a judgment of, and Michael has served not just this Parliament well, served this country well, and as I say, he's a decent person who made a really daft mistake, and he's paying a price for that mistake.
So as long as he's in the First Minister's view a decent person, he doesn't have to actually pay any financial price, because fundamentally the taxpayers have paid his bill.
No, look, ultimately that's a decision for Michael to consider and to ponder, and it's between him and the Parliament. It's not really between me and Michael. The severance payment doesn't come from me.
If this was a Tory minister,
Parliament.
If this was a Tory minister, you would be up in arms saying that this would represent Westminster's inherent flaws.
No, look, ultimately again, that's a decision between Michael and the Parliament, whether he returns back the money or not. All I'm saying is that Michael made a mistake and is paying a price for that mistake. He's lost his job.
If you'd have made that mistake, would you have accepted that payout?
Say that again?
If you'd have made the same mistake,
Well,
would
I
you have accepted
wouldn't
payout?
have made that mistake. Is the point? I mean, again, I'm not go over all of the details of what happened in Michael's case, but he made a mistake, and he's paying a price for that mistake. I would hope that I wouldn't make such a mistake.
But if you did, you'd surely not accept that money.
Look again.
It's more than the bill.
You're talking about kind of hypotheticals that are never going to happen. I'm not going to make that mistake. And ultimately, when it comes to ministerial severance, that's a decision between the ex-minister in all cases and the Parliament.